At first, I like to share words from the larger sutra. So please join me in the show, please put your hands together. 他あれば他に憂え、他くあれば他くに憂える。他なければまた憂えて他あらんことを願う。他くなければまた憂えて他くあらんことを願うと。If they have a field, they worry about the field. If they have a house, they worry about the house. If they have no fields, they become anxious and wish to possess them. If they have no house, they become anxious and wish to possess one. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Good morning, everyone. And welcome to today's Shotsuki monthly memorial service. And yesterday was really nice farewell party, and thank you everybody for coming, and thank you those for organizing the farewell party, and we enjoyed it. I was able to eat my face, right? Do you remember the cake from yesterday? Luckily, I had part of my face. Eat my face instead. But I'm sure we're gonna miss you, and I hope you have a chance to visit Sacramento one day. I think it was Sumiti talking about touring from Oregon to Sacramento with the Sangha member. So maybe we can rent a van and come down to Sacramento or come up to Portland. So today's words I shared at the beginning is from a larger sutra. Section on the three poisons, and more specifically, the section on the greed. And this section begins with the words like this. Did I put? Okay. しかるに世の人、伯族にして共に普及のことを争う。People in the world are so shallow and vulgar as to quarrel among themselves over matters of no urgency. So, it is like we are preparing for the trip, not deciding where to go. Right? If you are going to the warm place, we don't need to bring heavy jacket, right? We went to Japan last month, and it was perfect weather. Not too cold, not too hot. And if I brought heavy jacket to Japan, people would say, why did you bring a heavy jacket, right? So, how we live this life is important, right? But it should be based on where the destination of our life is. And Jodo Shinshu teaches us that our destination is the Pure Land of Amida Buddha, the realm of enlightenment, where we attain Buddhahood. So, in this section, Shakyamuni Buddha is teaching us that there is nothing more urgent than knowing our destination of our lives. But in reality, we quarrel over matters of no urgency. It is because what we do in our daily life is often based on our three poisons, including greed. And because of the greed, we do not reside in the peace of mind. So the words I shared at the beginning is what I am feeling this couple of weeks. The Sugahara family was supposed to be able to move down to Sacramento and live in the apartment from the end of June. But because of the mismanagement on the apartment side, the room we were planning to rent went to another person. And we had to rent another room. And that is unbearable to live from July 10th or something. So we are still going down to Sacramento as we plan on June 22nd because my family is flying out of SA4 to Japan later this month. But I'm coming back to Portland with some Sacramento members in July to finally move everything down. So I really feel that if I don't have a house, I worry about the house. And at the same time, I felt that, well, this is probably what the people without house is feeling all the time. When we worry about something too much, it is difficult to focus on what we really need to focus on. And oftentimes, we feel stressful and sometimes be offensive to other people. So if we are looking for the safe and peaceful environment for society, we really need to come up with a solution for the homelessness. But what I can present is limited, so I don't present, one of my thoughts today. But, as the parking goes, I started to see few things needs to be fixed in my house. So I contacted some contractors to do the work. And I also asked some people for the advice how we can rent our house, and almost everybody said that renting a house in Portland is not favorable condition right now. But we would like to keep a house in Portland so that we might be able to come back to Portland one day. So we are thinking about renting the house through property management company. But the time is limited now, and the project I want to do for the house cannot be done before we move. So I am worried if we can keep the house. Well, if Oregon Buddhist Temple wants to rent a house from me, please let me know. I can rent a house for you. But so again, I'm feeling that if I have a house, I worry about the house, right? So sadly, we human beings look for something we don't have, and we attach to something we own. And as I mentioned earlier, this feeling leads us to be stressful, feel anxieties, worries, offensive, and so on. And this is the nature of human beings. So Shakyamuni Buddha in the Raja Sutra is not requesting us to discard these kind of feelings. But Shakyamuni Buddha is asking us to realize this nature of our own. When we know what kind of feelings we possess, we learn how to deal with it. And one of the Jodo Shinshu teachers said that blind passions becomes blind passions when we finally hear the teaching of Buddhism. And blind passions or afflictions in Chinese character is bonno. And each character means irritate, bother, trouble, worry, and distress. So until we encounter the Buddhism teaching, we were living without knowing that it is our mind which makes us irritate, bother, trouble, worry, and distress. And we were seeking the cause of these feelings outside of ourselves. But actually, it is coming from inside of ourselves. And because oftentimes, bonno blurs our decisions and blind ourselves from which way we should go, it is often translated as blind passions. So Shakyamuni Buddha taught people who can endure severe practices to discard these blind passions through practices. But for those who cannot discard these blind passions, Shakyamuni Buddha taught the teaching of Nembutsuge. This is a teaching of acknowledging or realizing the nature of ourselves through receiving the wisdom of Buddha. And because of the nature of me possessing the blind passions, there is a Buddha named Amida who wishes us to be born into the pure land of Amida and attain Buddhahood through the working of the name Namo Amida Butsu. So now, many of the ministers say that simply the teaching of Jodo Shinshu is the teaching of gratitude.
And that is one of the important aspects of Jodo Shinshu teaching. But I put more emphasis or focus on the aspect of realizing the nature of ourselves possessing the blind passions. And because of the blind passions, we are grasped and never to be abandoned by Amirabura's working. So here arises the feeling of gratitude. Right? So it's not that gratitude comes first, but by knowing our nature and by knowing the Buddha, there is a Buddha who established the vow for us. The feeling of gratitude arises. So it is really important to learn what kind of people we are. And I've been practicing Chinese martial arts close to 10 years now. And over the years, I established the bad habits of pulling a punch like a little bit or kicks in, right? But not extending arms enough fully when I perform broadsword and such. And now, the bad habits are often corrected by my Shifu teacher. And if Shifu did not point out these bad habits of me, I probably did not realize my bad habits. And if I did not trust my Shifu, I probably did not listen to what he says. So when I am focused, I try not to express my bad habits, right? But when I am not focusing, these bad habits appears and Shifu comes out over and over again. So this is the same for Buddhism teaching. We trust the word of Shakyamuni Buddha. And Shakyamuni Buddha teaches us that for those who are possessed of blind passions, Amida Buddha established a vow to grasp and never abandon all beings. So when we hear the reason why Amida Buddha had to establish the vow, we realize that it was only for the sake of myself who possessed the blind passions. So through hearing the vow, we learn what kind of people we are. And Jodo Shinshu is not asking us to completely change our attitude, but acknowledging the nature of ours makes us adjust the way of our lives. So our greed will never disappear, but how to deal with greed will change when we live with the vow of Amida, calling of Amida to grasp and never abandon us. So I could say that we are always living on the wish of the Buddha. Our lives stands on the grounds of Amida's vow. So this is my last Dharma talk here at the Oregon Buddhist Temple as a resident minister. So I think when I was at Florence, my talk was more like general Buddhism, focused on general Buddhism. But the enthusiasm of Oregon Buddhist Sangha and passion to learn more about Jodo Shinshu made me focus on talking more about Jodo Shinshu teaching specifically. And because of this, I felt the need of studying more about Jodo Shinshu. So you nurtured me to be a better Jodo Shinshu minister. And I don't know if I really became better Jodo Shinshu minister. You nurtured me to be a better Jodo Shinshu minister. And I hope I was able to share what our founder Shinran Shonin enjoyed and our predecessors enjoyed without misinterpreting the teaching. And if the teaching of Nembutsuge did not resonate you, then that is not the fault of the teaching, but it is the fault of my way of transmitting the teaching. So, if Nembutsuge teaching did not resonate you, I'm sorry about it. Right? Also, if the teaching of Nembutsuge was attractive to you, then that's not my credit. You are attracted to the teaching because the teaching is great. And of course, I still appreciate the comments saying, "Oh, Sensei, your talk was so great." Right? But I enjoyed these past 6 years with you, 2 years out of 6 years for the period of pandemic, so that I could not see most of you for 2 years. But I am happy that we were able to come back to the temple in person and enjoy the teaching of Nembutsuge with you again. And I wish everybody continues to enjoy the teaching of Nembutsuge, and I am sure that we will have another occasion to enjoy the teaching together. So thank you very much for the past 6 years. And I would like to conclude my talk with a reading of traditional epistle on white ashes written by Rennyo Shonin. So please join me in that show. Please put your palms together. それ人間の小なる相をつらつら感ずるに、おおよそ儚きものはこの世の始終中、幻のごとくなるいちごなり。されば、未だ漫才の人参の受けたりということを聞かず、一生過ぎやすし、今に至って誰か100年の業態を保つべきや、我や先人や先、酔うとも知らず、明日とも知らず、遅れ先立つ人は元の雫末の梅雨よりも茂しと言えり。されば明日には高願なって、夕べには白骨となれる皆に。すでに無常の風来たり濡れば、すなわち二つの眼たちまちに閉じ、一つの息長く耐えぬれば、大願虚しく返じて、道理の装いを失いぬる時は、六神眷属集まって、打撃悲しめども、さらにその会あるべからず。さてしもあるべきことならねばとて、野外に送って、夜明の煙となし果てぬれば、ただ白骨の溝残れり、哀れというもなかなか愚かなり。されば人間の儚きことは、老少不浄の境なれば、誰の人もあやく五生の一大事を心にかけて、阿弥陀仏と深く頼み参らせて、念仏のすべきものなに、あなかしこ、あなかしこ。On white ashes. In silently contemplating the transient nature of human existence, nothing is more fragile and fleeting in this world than the life of man. Thus, we have not heard of human life lasting for 1,000 years. Life passes swiftly, and few among men can maintain their form for even 100 years. Whether I go before others, or others go before me, whether it be today or tomorrow, who is to know? Those who depart before us are as countless as the drops of dew. Though in the morning we may have radiant health, in the evening we may return to white ashes. When the winds of impermanence blow, our eyes are closed forever, and when the last breath leaves us, our face loses its color. Though loved ones gather and lament, everything is to no avail. The body is then seen to our open view and vanishes from this world with the smoke of cremation, leaving only the white ashes. Nothing is more real than these truths of life. The fragile nature of human existence underlies both the young and the old. Therefore, we must, one and all, turn to the teachings of the Buddha and awaken to the essence of life. By so understanding the meaning of death, we come to appreciate the meaning of this life, which is to be treasured because it is unrepeatable. By virtue of true compassion, let us realize the unexcelled value of this existence, and let us live together with gratitude in our hearts. Humbly and respectfully, Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.